Welcome to the We Ain't Normal podcast, where each week we share the best tools to help neurodiverse moms navigate life so you can enjoy more flow, focus, and freedom to live your best life yet. And now, here's your host, Charmaine Fuller.
Hey ladies, what's up? Welcome back to the Motherhood Mindset series with the We Ain't Normal podcast, because ain't nobody normal, plus being normal is boring. Today I am with my girl, Vai Ma and I. She has a spirit of gold and light and unicorns and glitter. She is the trainer to VAs extraordinaire. Like, her work ethic and who she trains is phenomenal. She is a mom. She is a wife. She is all the things like all of us. And so today we are going to be touching on mom guilt, how to dump it, how not to get it back. Vi, share a little bit about who you are personally, professionally, what you love, all that good stuff.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that introduction. It's always awkward for me when somebody introduces me. I'm like, what do I do? Do I just like smile? So I'm Vi, and I'm the go-to business coach for virtual assistants. And I help my clients scale their business to 5K months so that they can leave their 9-to-5s. And I'm a mom. I have 4 kids. I love all animals. I'm a dog mom. A few years ago, I didn't think I liked cats, but I actually love cats too. And I started my journey in 2019, and it's been one wild ride. But yeah, nothing normal here.
So that leads into what we're talking about. When was the first time that you dealt with mom guilt?
I've always had mom guilt. From when my kids were real young. I was working at a resort here in Maui, and it was a 9-to-5. I had to work in order to provide for my kids, and they were still babies at the time. But I remember the look on my son's face. He was about 6 months, and I remember it so vividly. And every time I think of that memory, it just breaks my heart. I would drop him off with my mother-in-law, and he would just have like the saddest face when I dropped him off, and he would just cry. Both of my kids would do that. It was like they just didn't like being away from me because it was always just us. And then when it got to like the nitty-gritty, I was like, I have to go back to work. We can't like live off of one income in Hawaii. Everything is expensive. So I would go to work and just be miserable, just resentful of my situation. And I was really in that victim, like, poor me, like, why does this happen to me?
And I had the similar thing. So like, I have kids of varying ages as well. And when my daughter went to daycare, I would like be outside in my car. It would take me like 5 minutes because I'm crying because I feel so horrible about working. And like that whole woe is me. I wish I didn't have to work. I wish I didn't have to do this. Even my youngest son, now I've shifted, but like in the beginning, he would go, well, Mom, why do you have to leave me? Like, we don't need, Miss Ricky, like you can stay with me forever. And it's like, babe, I have things to do. And just that whole pull. I think a lot of that comes from, because I have yet to hear my husband say how guilty he feels about going out and work, yet, ever, never. But I think it's like this unrealistic expectations that are placed on moms of you have to provide, because that's like a given, no matter what you're doing, that you have to provide. Plus you have to be this super mom and have all the things done and be at all the events and, make sure everything is just perfect for everybody else. And so I feel like we unnecessarily stress ourselves out based on other people's expectations of what motherhood is. And that just adds for a whole nother like snowball of just unnecessary guilt, I think, around being a mom. What is like one of the ways that you started to climb out of that? Because I discovered, which I'm sure you discovered, it is not productive at all to be in that space.
Right. Well, before, when my kids were young and I was at the hotel working, I was resentful the whole time. I was even resentful of my husband at one point. Like, why can't you earn more money? Like, why do I have to be here? All these what ifs. Like, and when I started my business, I was like, it was kind of like what helped me to like shift out of it. But I remember I would miss out on a lot of my kids' tournaments because they do MMA and football games and band rehearsals, or and their performances. My daughter would never tell me, but I could tell in her eyes like how disappointed she was that every time I'd have to leave. But I had this really mindset of like lack, that I was, I would come home exhausted and I would be like, well, I'd rather go to bed tired than broke. Like, that was the mindset that I had. Well, at least I'm providing for them, and that would make me feel kind of like a little bit better. But then it was just sort of like a way that I could go to sleep at night. It wasn't until I left my job and I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And I started my business that I started to realize that you can have both. You can have your family and finances. Before, I didn't think that. It was, I have to provide for my kids. They'll just figure it out when they get older.
And here's the gag: whether you are working for yourself or you are working a 9 to 5, if you don't have that mindset piece, you'll always feel mom guilt. Like, I've known a couple of entrepreneurs that have switched, like they were working 9 to 5. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to work from home so I can spend more time and I can lessen this mom guilt. But the mom guilt is still the same, because if you're working from home, until you create boundaries, you will have people coming to you at all various times, bugging you, making you feel guilty. Like, when I first started working from home, I was my mom's go-to girl. And it's like, okay, this is like, I had like daughter guilt. It's like, oh my God, this is something that I have to do because she's my mom. I can't tell her no. And then the kids would come and it's like, oh my gosh, like, who are they going to depend on if I don't show up? And I realized I had just transferred the mom guilt. I had transferred it. So that's when I discovered that it wasn't the 9 to 5 that had me feeling guilty. It was, for me, the lack of boundaries that I had set around my family, helping them to understand, to see the big picture. Like, I had never explained to my kids the big picture of, I'm working because these are things that we like to have. And my kids are so extremely like, oh my God, are we broke? It's like, no, but unless you would like to live in the car, I like living with a roof over my head, some indoor plumbing. Like, those are great things to have. And helping them to understand and participate and be okay with that is what it was for me. I had to really begin to set and execute boundaries around what my family could expect, when they could expect to see me, what's work time, what's family time. And it helped me to spend more purposeful time with my family as well.
Yeah. Yeah, like, tell me not, like, because I'm home, my kids feel like they have access to me at all times now. Okay. Like, no. But yeah, I feel like having that intention of like, when I'm with my kids, I'm with my kids. When I'm working, I'm working. Exactly. That's what really helped. Yeah.
Exactly. And I always call it setting the boundary and executing it, because it's one thing to set the boundary and go, okay, from 9 to 2 today, you're not going to disrupt mommy, right? Mommy's going to be working. Daddy is your go-to person. And when they come to see you, go, well, it's 1:00. Like, you got an hour to go see your dad. Whereas moms, most of the time, I feel like we create our own mom guilt sometimes, is where the kids come and we've set this boundary and they come with those big, beautiful eyes and that voice. And we give in, and then we're resentful because, like, oh my God, I have to be this mom. Right. I think it's like with most mindset stuff, is that we create that space that we're in, by the nature of how we perceive things, how we look at things is what we create. And that we can eliminate the mom guilt. Like, that's totally possible. It's not something that you have to experience. And I'm gonna be controversial. I don't even think it's normal. Like, it shouldn't be to where we feel guilty about wanting to go and do something that we enjoy or that we need to do in order to provide for our family. Because, like I said, my husband has never had this conversation with me about he's felt guilty about providing for his family.
Yeah, neither is mine.
Yeah, that's never been a conversation. So it's like, so why do I need to feel guilty about desiring to provide for my family?
Right.
Like, why do I need to feel guilty about that? And I shouldn't.
I agree.
What is the one thing that you would give to moms to start climbing out of that? To start breaking through and finding their own path out of the whole mom guilt cycle? What is something that, you know, if you haven't mentioned that you've done that's helped you? What does that look like for you?
For me, it's priorities and boundaries.
Yeah.
And sticking to it. I know, like, when I first had my boundaries up, my kids would try to cross it all the time, like try to push, like, are you sure you can't, you know? But it was me like, no, you know, and I kind of felt bad about that. But once we got into like routine, we're good now. Like, they know, like, when I'm done with work, we're doing whatever the hell you want to do, you know,
Right.
our time. So, yeah.
So how would a mom begin to set priorities? Because sometimes I know for many, and even when I started out, it feels like everything is urgent and important in the same space. And so how do you begin to pull apart what really needs to get done, what really doesn't need to get done, what ain't even yours to begin with?
Yeah.
As a mom,
I think it's a lot easier for me because of the stage that my kids are in. I have teenagers, so they're a lot older and they can pretty much hold their own now, whereas before it was not like that at all. But my youngest, he is almost 3, and so he's the one that, you know, they have to take care of. And when they're at school, I have to figure out like when it's our time. So I usually do work after, you know, when my kids are home from school or when my husband's home. So earlier in the day, I just hang out with him, which is super fun. And it was so different for me because it was like I wake up and go to work and then come home. So I had to like flip it. But you find what works for you, you know.
I think you made a really important point, is that you're working from a space of where your children are. And that's what I teach a lot of moms all the time, is that if you have a 3-year-old, you cannot even begin to say, I'm going to work from 9 to 1. Right. Like, I feel like from having 3-year-olds, that's really unrealistic, because you working from 9 to 1 means that you have colors on your wall. You have a toilet stool full of toilet paper. You have some other stuff going on in your house because you have to be present. Right. And it's like, you know, I tell one mom, I said, well, if you're going to work during nap time, that has to be the most productive hour. Like, you have to hone in. But knowing how your family operates is also going to help you to navigate any types of feeling of not feeling like you're doing enough for your kids, which is what mom guilt boils down to. I'm not enough. I'm not feeling like I'm doing enough. And so I have to overcompensate, which means that you're resentful somewhere. You're either resentful with the job, or you're resentful with having to spend time with your kids, or you're resentful just about your life in general. And I think that's a big part, is knowing how your family operates. It's like, you're like, okay, I could work during the day, but I'm going to get interrupted like every 5 minutes, because kids are very high needs in between the age of newborn and like 6. They are like really high needs. And so knowing how your family operates is huge. Using your family as a support team. We're all a team. Like you said, when your older kids get home from school, they know what's up. Yeah. They know what's up, what they need to do, how they need to support, and then moving forward. And I don't think a lot of women use their family in that way, as well as a support team. It's like they try to do all the things, which I think impacts how they, you know, see what their family can do and how they can show up. Like, that's huge. As we kind of get ready to wrap this up, what do you feel like, if you had to give like one piece of advice? So I know you were talking about just like knowing how your family works, knowing how things go, but one piece of advice or ways for women, for moms to know, to go for resources, to know how to get this started. Like, what did you use to get started? Because I know in doing what you do, you kind of have an organizing mind like me. So it's like, I see a problem. Okay, so how can I like put things together and like get it done? Where did you start off with that at?
I started joining Facebook groups with moms in it, like support groups.
Okay.
But I think the biggest thing that I had to do that I feel like a lot of moms need to do is forgive themselves and give themselves grace. And I at one point was like, I can't forgive myself. Like I did this, and it's like, no, that's not true. That's what you think,
Right.
Yeah.
I think that leads back to that enoughness, though. I think a lot of us deal with that enoughness based on what we feel like other people's perceptions of how we're supposed to show up. Where can they find you in these internet streets, Miss Vi?
So I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook group, and then I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Cool beans. And all of her contact information and anything like that will be in the show notes. But definitely connect. A lot of the videos that you do, specifically, I think for people looking into becoming VAs, and a lot of the information you provide is really stellar. If that's something you're looking into, like that's a great, like people always need VAs. That's like if you're looking for something to do that you enjoy, like you kind of have to enjoy it. But if you're looking for that, definitely, or if you're already a VA and you want to sharpen your skills so that you can get clients with more ease, she's definitely the lady that you want to hook up with. All right. So rapid fire question. I know you live in Hawaii, but do you prefer the beaches or would you rather be like on the ski slopes or doing something else?
I like the beach. It's funny because everybody is like, oh, you're in Maui. Do you like swim with the dolphins? I'm like, yeah, every day, all the time. Are you kidding me? Like, I don't like going to the beach a lot because I love swimming, but then I hate getting out and you're sticky and the sand is stuck to all the most inappropriate places, like I like a little bit of everything, but I do want, one year we went up to Colorado and we stayed up in the mountains and it was so nice, but I can't hang with the cold. This body was not meant for cold weather. Like I fell apart. I was like, take me home.
Okay, audiobooks or regular books?
I like audiobooks.
I'm getting into audiobooks.
I am. Before I was like, how do you, I always like get distracted, but now in car rides, my kids are like, oh gosh, not these self-help books again.
So what are you reading right now, audio-wise?
The energetics of selling and marketing.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, all this woo-woo stuff that I never thought or believed in when I first started my business is.
Yeah, isn't it? That's like the weirdest thing. It's like, what does my mindset have to do with selling? And it's like, oh my gosh, everything.
Yeah.
Oh, bye. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Everybody make sure to keep tuned to the We Ain't Normal podcast. And we will talk to you soon. Stay weird. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of the We Ain't Normal showcast. I want to make sure that you stay in the loop, that you get all of the bonuses that go beyond each show, and that you're notified whenever each new show drops. So I want you to sign up for the We Ain't Normal show newsletter. Go to weain'tnormal.show to sign up for that newsletter today. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you can know each time an episode drops. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcasting platform, be sure to add us to your library, download the show, as well as leave reviews. Remember to stay weird, and I'll catch you next episode.